Okay. So we may have a few more join, but I'm going to start smudging. So welcome to the Spirit Element class. And this class is actually all about spirit. And I love the spirit world. I believe I love the spirit world more than I love the human world. It's horrible to say that, but it's very true for me. So I want to teach you a lot of things that are useful. So a lot of people use smudge to get rid of the negative energies, right? And they use it for purifying and cleansing. But when I do spirit work, I use it to manifest spirit. And there's a reason, that's one of the reasons why smudging doesn't work sometimes, depending on who's doing the smudging. Maybe the person doing the smudging is invoking spirit, don't even know it. Okay. So for me, the white buffalo sage is my favorite because I use that to invoke spirit. And we're going to be talking about all of that shortly. And as I was coming to this class, I got nervous. So I know that spirit is around. And I love doing this class during this time. So we're going to cast a circle first. And then I'm going to light my candle. And when I do spirit work, I always use I have a crystal I like to use to cast my circle. And if you look at it, there's like white wisps in it. You can see that. And this is called my spirit crystal. And quartz crystal is actually really good to have when you're doing spirit work. So if you have a quartz crystal, it doesn't matter if it's a tumbled stone or a crystal ball. Whenever we're doing spirit work, if we have a crystal present, that energy goes into the crystal. Crystals are, they're record keepers. So I like to use a crystal and have one around me, and the crystal will change as you use it. But the crystal also becomes very powerful because it records everything that has happened. Okay. So I use a crystal to cast my circle, and let's do that before we get started. In this place, the circles round, we consecrate the sacred ground. With golden light, the space all surround, all power here contained and bound. From the north, the things that manifest. From the east, the things of mind. From south, the things that motivate, and west, the souls refined. And yet no place or time there be between the worlds, our words and we. Ancient ones come and see, our space is sealed, so mote it be. Okay. Now, if you want lots of action, you don't have to cast a circle. And a lot of time when I was learning how to work with the spirit world, I didn't cast it. But I like to cast it because I'm in my home. I've already had enough spirit activity this little while. And when I cast the circle boundary becomes you. Imagine that circle you're casting as your aura of protection. So that now that I know my circle is cast, any spirit that tries to get into my circle, I'll be able to feel. And I'll be able to recognize what direction and where they're coming from. So a lot of you have done all of the elements up until spirit. And when you actually do a review where you listen to them one after the other, you will feel it all connect. So I do suggest you do that. But this element is one of my favorites because there is so much that has to do with spirit. Not only does it represent in our circle and in our magic the power of the god and the goddess, but it also represents our spirit and everything that we create within the circle, the things that we're calling in, the things that we speak become a spirit. And that's what magic is about. So I want to get into the element of spirit. And you will have to listen to this a few times. I even have to go back to my book and look up what I'm experiencing. Because sometimes if you're experiencing more than one spirit, you'll want a book of shadows. You'll want to journal what type of spirits you come across. So I would suggest to start journaling your spirit experiences. If you feel something when you went somewhere. So when we do our magic, and within the sacred circle, we use the color white, black, purple, silver, and gold. So we use those colors to represent spirit. And we'll use those candle colors. So I'm going to light a black candle right now. And we'll see how that lights up. Now it's a very orange. And it's spitting. I thought it was going to go out, but now it's growing. So if your candle goes out, imagine spirit going like that, right? They're snuffing your candle out. So you always want to have a candle lit when you're doing spirit work or when you're connecting to spirit. And you always want to take a note on how your candle flame goes, just like the fire magic. Mine has a really bright orange aura all the way around it. So that lets me know that my ancestors are present. But it almost went out. So some of the things that you will experience are different types of spirits. And when it comes to the spirit world and our connection to it, you know how the earth element is north and the air element is east and fire is south and water is west? Well, the spirit is above and within. Okay? Not above and below. It's above and what is within. Because we are the manifestors of our spiritual experience. Whether we're channeling spirit, seeing spirit, or raising it. Okay? Quartz crystal is one of the most powerful minerals to use when you're working with spirits. So having one on the altar or carrying one with you when you're doing spiritual things is definitely something that will help you connect. The other thing is the symbol. When we invoke spirit, we use the pentagram and we start at the top of the pentagram. Okay? It's also the circle. And it's also the spiral. So when I invoke spirit, it depends on where I am and what I'm doing. Okay? I can use the pentagram to activate the space that I'm in so that spirit will come forward. And when I do that, I put in my intent to communicate and open up all of my psychic senses to what is around me. Now, because we're in the Middle Earth and because we're human, we have control over all of the spiritual realms around us, whether we decide to connect with them or not. So I'll use the pentagram to invoke or banish. And some of you in the other classes, we did, I had you draw your star so that you could naturally see where you're invoking from or if you're a banisher. Now remember when I talked about the smudge, I said, some people will release spirits and some people will call spirits in with the smudge. Well, depending on how we direct our energy and our pentagram, we're invoking or we're banishing. So I will put the star up and you can see how you're invoking and banishing and what element. Okay. But if I want more energy, I use the spiral. So just like the circle, we can generate power by going clockwise. When we are generating power with the spiral, we use our right hand and we generate it. And if you do this right now, okay, actually, let's do this. Okay. So go into Gasho. Breathe through your mouth, minimum of 3 times. I like to have my eyes closed when I do this. And I wait. And as soon as I feel like my hands connected, and I can feel either movement or heat. Sometimes it's movement. I know it's time to open my hands. And when I open my hands and move them to my shoulders, to the side of my shoulders, I wait. And I can feel a cool energy. I can feel the atmosphere in the room. I've connected. We're going to talk about the power of spirit in the atmosphere of the room. Now take your right hand and put it in front of your face, almost like you're shielding. And then go into a spiral formation. And then just keep the circle going. And I want you to feel what you feel. You may feel like you're touching a wall. And if you don't, go back, bring your hand back and move forward. And you'll feel, and then go again. And you will feel you're touching something. Can you feel that? Okay, put it back. Now let's do the left hand and do your spiral. You'll find that it feels totally different. And when we do this, we are receiving power and then we're sending it. So if I need to communicate with spirit, I can put my hand up like this. And when I'm in a room, and if I go like this, any presence where my energy will hit, I got them. I can connect. Okay? Same with your right hand. If you go like this is how we speak to spirit. You don't even have to say a word. But if I walk into a room and I put my hand out like this, then this is how I gain control over the spirit's room, over the room and the spirits. That's including spirits that are passed on and spirits that are sitting in my room. Remember, when we are doing magic and we teach people how to see the aura around the candle flame, they won't see it unless you do. And that's why as witches and as wise ones and mystics, we want to make sure that we are able to invoke certain energies. So one of the things that were some of my the first things I started delving into when I started to connect was summoning. And every part of magic and every part of doing readings, you are communicating with spirit, right? And each element has nature spirits. but they also have spirits that are upper world and underworld. So the spirit element is something that we really want to work with, learn how to communicate with, because they're the ones that do all the work for us. Okay. So when we connect with spirit, we use the number 1. And a lot of times when you see the number 1, it's trying to get your attention. So if you see lots of 1s, then you know that represents the Middle Earth realm. If you see 1 and 1, then that usually represents the underworld, or root makers, or nature spirits are all part of the underworld. If you see 111, that represents the upper world. So all of the angelic beings, celestial beings, planetary beings. So when it comes to the element spirit, there's so much more involved with it, because there's many different worlds and there's many different dimensions. In order to connect with spirit, you have to believe in dimensions. Our realm that we live in has many times and dimensions. And when people access past lives or future lives, they're accessing themselves. So for us to access a past life, we need to go into spirit and connect with that past life. And so for me, I believe that the soul's growth, the reason why we're here, is to obtain presence and ability in more than one dimension. And we have. So some people are older souls than others. And there's also new spirits, right? So when we talk about the spirit world, it's everything that exists, every animal. Many people believe that animals are animals and are animal spirits. I don't. I believe animal spirits came from human spirits, because there's a realm where people become spirit guides and spirit animals. So in a lot of Native American cultures, we believe that the eagle, the wolf, and all of the totems are spirits or shapeshifters. So when we start practicing the occult, or we become into our powers of the witch, we learn to know the boundaries that exist between this world and the spirit world. And we also understand that it all has to do with vibration and frequency. So the realms that we're connecting to have to do with vibration and frequency. So the only way for us to connect to our ancestors or the people that we love is through knowing them. What we know inside and how we feel about them calls them. And these spirits are not like way far away in another galaxy. And you know, when I first started working with spirit, that's how I imagined it. Like I had to call them from that universe and that universe. But I started to learn about dimensions and realize they're all right here. That even the portals of power of the upper worlds and the underworlds exist in this realm. And a lot of those portals of powers are within us. Okay? So we need to learn how to travel to the spirits and connect to our abilities with them. Okay? If you know that you have a grandma and she was artistic and loving and loved beautiful things and flowers, then you can call her, because you know that she's empathic, she's a visual, she visualizes. So you would use your sight and watch for her. Okay, so it's always important to know the spirits that you're working with and to learn how to summon them and start working with them. So when we work with a spirit, there's 3 different laws that come into play. One is the law of karma, because whatever we invoke and do is our own responsibility. Is true, everything. We also have the law of threefold return. Okay, and one of those represent when we work with a spirit. So whenever we work with a spirit, a new cycle is formed and a new connection. And that spirit will be working on what it needs to do for you. Okay, so there is a threefold return. There is also a universal law of manifestation that takes place. Because in order for you to connect to spirit, there has to be some kind of manifestation. Oh my gosh, it is getting so smoky in here. I know the fire alarms can go off. Okay. The other thing that will call in spirit is chanting their name. Okay. When I started studying magic, I really wanted to start invoking spirit. And when I started working with different gods and goddesses, I really practiced on invoking the energies that they held. And I felt that they were like the key for me to receive the energy I want. Because they were gods of that energy and goddesses of that energy. And when I wanted to speak to the spirits that I knew, the spirits that passed on, I started to summon them. The easiest way is by calling their name. And you keep repeating their name. You can say it out loud or you can call them mentally. And the rule is the law of 3. So call the name 3 times. The other thing is when we start communicating with spirit, whether it's with the pendulum is what I suggest at first, and we'll get into that in a little bit. It's super important to always ask the questions you want to know 3 times. The universal law states that no spirit can lie if you're asked 3 times. That also states that whatever we command and desire, if we state it 3 times, it goes in and it's in manifestation. So practice calling spirit 3 times. You can call an angel, you can call someone you love, you can call someone in your house. We'll get into all the different types of spirits. But prayers are the biggest connection to spirit. Calling them. Every element has spirits and every element has ancestral spirits we're connected to. And that's one of the reasons why the tarot is so important, because they represent the people and the elements that are coming forward. And each person in each card represents a suit and an element. Unless it's a major arcana, then it represents a universal power. So invocations are important. There's lots of ancient invocations, and if you actually start to choose a goddess of an energy that you want and look up her ancient invocation, you'll find the old ones, and I suggest to try them. There's also some awesome books that I can post that have to do with the goddess cults and the works. I'll put some of those up so you can see them. But our intention papers are really what does it for us, because it's something that we repeat every month whenever we're doing our magic, And those intention papers go into the spirit world once we burn them. When we read our intention papers and when we write our intention papers, all of the spirits that are connected to us can see through our eyes. One of the things that I used to do when I was younger is when I did spirit releases or went to houses, we would stand in a circle and we would invoke the spirit. And we all knew the circle could not be broken. It doesn't matter if you're going to shit your pants, pardon my language. Nobody breaks the circle because we knew it was dangerous. And when we did the circle and called upon the spirit within the room, we knew that she or it or he would pick someone. And that's how I used to connect with spirit. I used to love them jumping in me until it got to the point where I experienced a few that were a little traumatic and not so human. And I had to have people like help me get back. And that's when I realized, okay, I don't need to be doing this to the point where I'm letting them take me over. So I started to not do that. But I found that when we are doing our magic and when we're doing our intention papers, all the spirits around us can see through our eyes. And that's one reason why we want to cast a circle. Because we know that within the circle, they're only positive looking through our eyes. But we all have attachments. So I want to get into the different types of spirits. But one of the reasons why we do our intention papers is because we are not only communicating with the spirits that are around us, but we are becoming spirit. And we are casting our magic as witches. And we are creating a psychic and spiritual perception of what we want to release and what we want to call in. So we're using the power of invocation and manifestation to attune our being to what we are practicing. And every time we do the full moon, you are becoming stronger in spirit. And that's not always because of your own development, but because of the spirits that are around you. They want you to be the best version you can't even think right now of the possibility that the spirits have for you. We are so limited. So it's really important for us to connect to the spirit realms and to learn to. So let's talk about the underworld. The underworld is all things materialistic. Okay? So you want something to happen in this physical world. You want money, win the lottery, healing. You want anything physical is underworld. So when we do our call-ins to call in physical things, the underworld spirits are the ones who have it. They're the ones that go and do our bidding. And those spirits are the elementals. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand that when they're practicing magic for material things, they feel like the elementals are evil. And it's like, well, no wonder your magic doesn't happen. Right? So the elementals are our root makers. Remember that. They make everything tangible for us. Now, if we are seeking guidance, wisdom, supernatural abilities, desires, anything that has to do with information, talents, abilities, gifts, knowledge, that's all upper world spirit. So as soon as you start to communicate to the spirit world, all of these different realms are present. Now, our realm spirits, the spirits that live in our realm, are mainly ghosts, animal spirits, plant spirits, mineral spirits, all of the elemental spirits, but as well as I don't know, ghosts, we'll get into it, as well as spirits that can come and go. Okay. So I want you have a candle lit. I want you to look at the candle for a minute. I'm going to say this chant, and then we're going to move on to the different types of spirits. So repeat after me, and I usually say that, but I always go so fast. Wow, I can see some awesome colors in that candle. Okay, ready? Let me move my candle. The more I listen, the more I notice, the easier it gets to navigate my way through life, to connect to the spirit world. The more I become, the more I am. Let's talk about the different spirits. So to me, spirit is the energy of the universe. Every breath of wind has a spirit. Every drop of water, every atom, every nucleus. And our spirit as a human, we have so many spirits. We're not just one spirit here. This is our temple, but I guarantee you, you have more than one spirit there. I call myself a walk-in. So spirits are a collective word, but the basic theme is always indestructible life. The function of activity, both its cause and effect, that is occurring simultaneously. Spirits are the one and only energy. They're absolute and neutral. They're broken up and distributed throughout the universe. So the energy of the universe is spirit. It makes movements, activities, there's vibrational frequencies, and that keeps us going. It always works harmoniously with the atoms and intelligence. Spirits are found everywhere. They're in things. They're connected to our nervous system. They're connected to our organisms. Spirit is actually found in the human bloodstream. And it is a spirit that gives life, is born into life. But it's not life. It's the principle. So scientifically, spirit is known as prana, orgone energy, biocosmic energy. It's known as psychism and movement of psychic energy, and can be perceived by humans with many different types of psychic skills. Spirit is knowledge and information, and is not logically reasoned. It can be gathered from the past, and it can be gathered, called upon into the future. Spirit becomes what we learn. It becomes our life experiences. It also becomes what we perceive from our intuition. It's our intuitive direction guiding us through life. and used as a normal psychic healing method, we can manifest spirit just through breathing. We can use energy healing, which is electromagnetic healing. And we can allow electromagnetic energy to enter our subconscious mind, our superconscious mind, and our physical body. All of that is psychic energy. So spirit energy is electromagnetic. And the stronger we are, the more electromagnetic energy we have. Sometimes to the point where we have static electricity and all of our hair is standing up. So if you want to become more powerful spiritually, you want to be higher in frequency, we do have to tap into the positive energy. Because the light that they see and the formation that spirits see is electromagnetic. And if you feel like you're low in energy, then you're definitely low in electromagnetic energy. And some of the best stones to carry are hematite. Hematite will activate your electromagnetic energy. Copper is an inducer. Quartz crystal is one. And apophyllite crystal will expand your aura as well. So the essence of spirit never dies. But our soul is interchangeable. That's what is so magical about spirit, is it's interchangeable. That includes we, us. We are always changing, evolving. Now, because spirit is electromagnetic energy, we want to create an environment where they can be attracted. So say your electromagnetic energy is miserable and you're walking down the street, you're going to connect to the same type of energy, whether it's a person or a spirit. It's magnetic. Okay? So our soul is interchangeable. And if we don't like a certain direction we're going in, or we don't like a certain happening that's taking place, we can interchange it, unless it's destined. So as far as us and our psychic abilities and spirit, we have three spirits alone in our mind, right? Imagine each brain as a spirit. So we have the conscious, we have the subconscious, and we have the superconscious. All three of those are connected and plugged in to a different realm. So when I am communicating with someone and they're talking to me, I know exactly what realm they're plugged into. And it's feeding right through them. I can tell. So it's easier for me to understand where they're coming from and connect to the positive energies of those realms. And that's what's awesome about the power of being interchangeable, right? We can manifest vital forces. So when we work with spirit, we are manifesting vital forces. Spirit is universal forces, whether they're positive or negative. Okay? So it's important for us to believe that there is an intelligence in every natural object. And that intelligence can be contacted and communicated with. Okay? So let's get into some of the different aspects of spirit. Okay, let me see where I was at. Okay. Holy, my computer is going crazy here. I can't control it. Oh, it's because my book is on the keyboard. Duh. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting haunted. Okay, so let's talk about ghosts and spirits. So ghosts are spirits that are usually, their death was usually sudden. It was a tragic passing, usually a murder. A lot of times they don't really realize that they're dead. And then sometimes they replay it. Some spirits will replay what they're going through every day, where other spirits will replay it on the day it happened. But ghosts are the ones that need to be released. They have unfinished business. They don't know that they are past, and they're strongly tied to that place. So it's super important for us to learn how to release spirit and communicate with spirit. And most spirits, or most ghosts, are not scary. If you have a fear of spirits, you'll definitely want to practice different things to break that fear. So ghosts are people that have a strong tie to their emotional and physical aspect of the world that is keeping them there. And that would be something that is heavy and grounding. Okay, so let's take a look at anger or violence. Those energies are known to many religions as spirits. There is an angry spirit that travels in our realm, and we've all felt it. Every negative emotion has a negative spirit attached. And if we don't clean it off of us, it can get stronger and dig its way into all of our auric bodies to the reach where it actually physically affects our body. But in order for a spirit to physically affect our body, it needs to work itself into every single one of our auric bodies, or 12 light bodies. And sometimes a spirit will make itself into one of our auric bodies. Maybe we have a negative spirit that was attracted to our second aura that has to do with our relationships. And then they're grumpy, they're seeing their lover as a jerk, and it can get worse and worse until they clean it off, change their mind. So ghosts can manipulate anything in our realm. They can manipulate temperatures in the room. They can manipulate how we feel, how we speak. They can manipulate the odor in a room. So ghosts are usually spirits that don't know their past, or negative spirits caught in limbo. Because if someone is negative, that negative energy stays. Now remember, our human aspect stays. It's our divine aspect that goes into the other realms. So this world is full of people's negative impressions. And all of those can combine to become spirit. So if you go into a house and everyone that's ever lived in that house had a divorce, guess what's going to happen to the next people? And sometimes energies of places and spirits are more powerful than we are. So ghosts are spirits that always need to be released. They need to be banished, or they need to go to the light. And one of my biggest pet peeves are people who will go and visit a ghost or go to a haunted place, feel it all out like a spirit pervert, and be like, oh yeah, it's all haunted, wow, creepy, and leave it. If you're going into a spiritual place and you feel an entity that needs clearing, clear it. Doesn't matter if you're in the building or outside of the building, but if you don't, you are creating a karmic tie to those spirits in that place. And I guarantee you, as soon as the spirit knows that you knew it was there and you were feeling it all out and just left it, it's not good. It creates blocks in our life and everything, because spirits are all part of the law of karma. What they become, what realm they go to. And it's like when we pass, we don't choose what realm we get to go to. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back in this last life. And next life, I'm definitely coming back as a bird. So it's super important for us to clear the spirits. And I'm going to get into that. How do you clear it? Someone asked. I'll give you a couple different ways on how to clear. And they're not going to be huge and ceremonial, but as long as you can connect to something that is not you, you're connecting to spirit. So ghosts are the ones that actually do need to be banished or helped. And then we have spirits. So the spirits of someone that's deceased. So the spiritual aspect of the deceased, I also call spirit, is more of the personality or the soul, okay? And they are higher realm. So the true spirit of the person is not negative. And maybe some people have more good than others. It doesn't matter. The spirit of who we are is not negative. And that spirit of that person who passed is able to travel. So it's very possible for us to call upon somebody and receive two different energies. The spirit of the person as well as the ghost if they have anything lingering in the house. Okay. So spirits will always come and go. They always check in on the people they love. They always go in and feel that electrical energy, and they always try to manifest to let us know. Now, people may have been able to see spirits or ghosts, but it's very important for you to know that just as how difficult it is for you to see a spirit, it is the same for the spirit to see us. They don't see us like skin and bone. They see us as electromagnetic energy, just as we do. They see us as the same veil that we do. So when the veils are thin, they get excited because they can see us more. So it takes just as much energy for them to see us as us to see them. So when we live in a place where we are in grief, that energy is lower. They can't see us. And I've had so many people who have lost people that they love and can't get out of that grief. And it's like, you have to get out of that grief. They can't contact you. They can't give you dreams. And it's all you need is to either summon their name 3 times or think of the person that you want to connect with until you feel a change. But you have to learn how to be aware of the change that you're feeling or experiencing. Okay? And the other thing is spirits, the ones that can come and go, the ones that aren't stuck, they will always communicate with us in a peaceful, positive way. And they always start through dreams. It is important for spirit to connect to our crown chakra. And as soon as it's able to connect with our crown chakra, it's able to give us the guidance and messages we're meant to receive. And that's one of the reasons why, if you're able to look at a person and see the spirits around them, you'll always see them higher up, because they're always trying to connect with that portal of power. I want to go into a couple more types of ghosts as well. So everyone's heard of poltergeists. They do exist. St. John actually has quite a bit. And poltergeists, I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen the movie. I don't watch that stuff. But poltergeists are known as noisy ghosts because they are able to manipulate the environment around you. Poltergeists are the ones that open doors, windows, drawers. They're the ones that will throw things across a room or move things. They're the ones that will cause lights to flicker. And they also have the ability to start fires. Now, usually when a poltergeist comes around, it starts off as like little mild things that are happening, and then people brush them off as, oh, that was just a coincidence. But they get angrier and stronger. So the more they're ignored, the more they'll increase in power. And they always have bad intentions. And they very rarely leave. Their object is to come, harm, and distress because they feed off of bad emotions. So if we are in a rut, trust me, people say, oh, you know, you're always so positive. You don't want to see me in a negative state. I will summon shit and regret it. And it's for real. So poltergeists are the noisy spirits. So whenever you hear, oh my God, my door just opened, it's probably a poltergeist. Now, they cannot come into your home unless you're very negative. Okay? So one of the situations I had once with a poltergeist activity, I got called. I was living in BC. I got called by this pastor of a church. And what happened is they were doing a birthday party. They were on, and there was karaoke, and this was like a little girl's, she must have been like 6 years old or something, like really young. And they were all singing. Well, all of a sudden, as they were singing on the mic, this loud voice came out. And it freaked them out. And then after that, they kept having weird things happening around the house. So finally, they decided they're going to contact me. So they contacted me and they said, I need you to check this out. We feel like there is a spirit presence. So I went to the pastor's house. He was there with some of the people of his congregation. And I went there with some of my circle. And I mean, whenever a pastor calls you up, you don't know what to expect, okay? So we go into this house, and they take us to the room where this girl's karaoke machine, where they were doing it, and they showed me and let me listen to it. And as we were listening to the recording, the chairs and the furniture upstairs just went vroom, slid right across the top of us. And I was like, oh my God, it's a poltergeist. So we started to call it on. We started to manifest it. We did our circle thing, and we were seeing this face coming in and out of the wall, like in and out. And it was like stretching. And it started getting really angry and throwing stuff around upstairs. So we had to do a release. We banished the spirit. But when we walked outside of the house, you could see the channel from the house to the sky. So anytime you do a spirit release or clearing, you want to check it out at night and see if you can see that channel. They are angry and they talk weird. Poltergeists will speak, and they actually have like a sound to it, and it's like, wah. And what they do is they feed off of spirits and energy. So in this particular one, it was actually feeding off of the energy of the children. And that's why it showed up. It freaked them out. And then all of a sudden the house was scared. The preacher was scared. Everybody started to get scared, and it had food and could grow. There's also interactive ghosts. And those are the most common spirits that are living among us. They're usually loved ones who come and they want to give us a message or a sign. And you can usually feel their presence, or you'll smell a scent. And if you smell their scent, then you know that they're here to communicate with you. So interactive spirits and ghosts will use scent, but they will have an emotional bond to the person they're contacting, and they don't ever wish any harm. And we've all heard of orbs. So orbs are the most common way for ghosts to present themselves through photographs. They want to give you that evidence. And they usually appear as translucent or blue. And you'll see like blue bulbs of light that appear hovering over the ground. And a lot of times orbs are the physical representation of an animal or spirit or human soul that's traveling. The circle represents an easier way for them to travel. And that is more like an electromagnetic cluster. And it's also considered that the more time they spend on Earth, the more human their appearance will become. So spirits that first come into our realm will start out as more of a sporadic energy form, and then they can become orbs, and then they can become full presence. So if you see a full present spirit, like me sitting here, you know they've been here for a very long time. Okay? Or they're in a place where they can grow quite fast because of the electromagnetic energy. And as far as any spirits, whether they're ghosts or otherworld beings, they always charge with cement, porcelain, or wood. And if it's a lot of wood and porcelain, they can get trapped. And that's why in haunted houses, it's the basement, the kitchen, the bathroom, because they have those materials. Now let's talk about funnel ghosts. Funnel ghosts are those that are found in historical buildings or in personal homes. And they represent an energy that swirls. And because it's a swirling funnel energy, we can see light or we'll feel cold spots. So if you go into an older home and there's cold spots that are sporadic, that's a funnel ghost. And it will actually appear as like a trail. So maybe some people have taken pictures where they see this long stream. That's a funnel ghost. They're representing themselves as a light. And they like older places. They're also the ones that will go into abandoned places because they know that they can form and have a place that is not intruding on the energy they want. Ectoplasma, that is a real deal. So even though you've heard of the Ghostbusters and Slimer, he was ectoplasma. Ectoplasma is everywhere. That is the mist. So when we talk about the mist and the fog, there's an energy that is spirit. And that mass of mist is called ectoplasma. It can either be white, black, or gray. And it's usually a few feet over the ground. So it hovers. So when I do my smudging, I can see how powerful the spirit energy is by how high it is from the ground. Now, electromagnetic energy or ectoplasma is actually seen as a spirit. It's able to move around quickly, but they like to stay in one place. So every room in your house will have ectoplasma spirit. Ectoplasma spirit is commonly found in graveyards as well. And they're considered to be old spirits. Of course, everyone's heard of demons. I'm not going to get too much into that because I mean, people say, well, you don't believe in demons and the devil. Well, I know that they exist because people made them exist, but I don't see them as my culture. So demons are usually energies that shouldn't be messed with, and they're very powerful supernatural beings that are attached to objects. They invade homes, and they inflict physical and mental torture. They are able to morph into different shapes, but they are most commonly witnessed as black masses. And one of the things that where I learned how to know if they're around is by the ceiling. So a lot of times if I got a call and a child was having difficulty sleeping or something, first thing I would do would check to see if there was any demon energy. And if you look at your room at night, you might see like a black blob. That's demon energy. And of course, demons are created by people who believe in them. So wherever there's a demon, that I see as a religious spirit, and it's connected to someone of that religion. First time I ever saw a demon was when my parents were going to church. And I was like young. And they had to do this, I don't know, they're praying for this lady, so they kicked all the children out to go to Sunday school or whatever. But I wanted to be a preacher. And I used to pretend I was a pastor when I was like young. But I remember opening the door and watching, and everyone was, you know, praising the Lord and praying for this woman. And right out of her, I saw this huge mass of this demon. And it was swearing and laughing at everyone. And the stuff that I heard it say, I was like, oh my God. And it was like nobody in the room could see it, but I saw it. And at a certain point, I saw it go right back into the lady. And then I was like, after church, I said to my parents, I'm like, I told them what I saw, and I said it went back into the lady. Well, apparently they went to her pig farm and took care of it, but who knows if they actually did. But that was the first time I saw one. And when I was a little older, one of the only things, that was the first thing I would see in people. First thing I would see was their demon. I hated people. And that's why it was the first thing I saw. So I can look at a person and I know if they have one or if they're being traumatized by one. And a lot of times when we get into a place of mental torture and we can't stop thinking of something, that is a sign that a demon is trying to get at you. So it's important for us to smudge. If you're drawn to spirituality, you're a channel of power. And we look like a candlelight to the spirit world when we're in power. And they'll come. They want us. So demons are religious. And the way I deal with them is through a religious custom. I'll use holy water. I'll make my own holy water and use it. Shadow people. Shadow people are everywhere. And I probably think that all of you probably experienced a shadow person. Most of the time they appear in the corner of our eye and then they vanish as soon as you look. And this month, I have seen lots of them. And you know, one of the signs that there is lots of them is by how many spiders you have in your home. So if you're getting lots of spiders, there is shadow people around. So those who have been able to look at shadow people have the ability to communicate with the spirits. Shadow people are always a silhouette. Sometimes they're wearing a cloak, a hood, or a hat. but they will go and live in the walls. They live in the walls of places, they live in televisions, or they're in the dark of the night. So if a lot of times if you hear something in your walls, it's a shadow creature. And you'll hear when you do spirit releases or go to someone's house and they're telling you about their place and all of it's happening in the walls, you know that that's the type of spirit. They got a shadow that's trying to come in. And they suck us. They will attach. It's like this little sucker that comes out of them and attach to us. And many of us will actually feel almost like a burning pain on our back. And it's usually around the rib cage or under. If you feel something like that at times, that's usually where they try to suck on. So shadow creatures are just looking to feed. Now we always have guardian angels. Guardian angels have spent most of their time with us. We have a guardian angel that is appointed to us at birth. We also have the angel realm that we're connected to as far as our astrology and the power of the planets. But guardian angels will come in. We receive new guardian angels every year. And they offer us different perspectives to how we live in the physical world. So guardian angels bring us guidance. And they also bring us the channel and the ability for us to obtain a power and connection that we have connected to the spiritual realm. You have to realize that the powers that we have and the potential in our powers are all alive. We just have to connect to it. So our guardian angels help us spiritually. They help us in uplifting and activating our spiritual self, our psychic self. And they protect us through spiritual interactions. We also are connected to the archangels. And the archangels usually have specific energy fields that they put into our being. And they help us, they want to help us better the physical and the spiritual world. Archangels want us to bring our gifts out to help change the world and help it become more spiritual. But archangel powers usually come to us when we are connected in groups of people. So when we do our full moons, archangel power is there. When you are doing a group of things, whether it's crafting or whatever, if there is more than 8 people, there's an archangel around. The other thing is archangels will take on human form. And one of the most powerful times in my life was with an archangel. I opened up my first store, Crystals, Dreams, and Magical Themes. And I opened it with my credit card and Brett's. I had no savings. It was all credit card. And so I opened up my store on a highway. I maxed everything out for my products, and I was going to do psychic readings. So I did this, and things were going really good, and they were becoming successful. But then I had this month where it was like everything was hard. And at that point, I was taking care of my parents and my 4 brothers. They were all experienced a move from Alberta. They all came to live with us. So I was carrying a plate that had 5 other people on it. And it got to the point where it was time for rent. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have rent. So I went in my store. I had this magical room, and it was like a medieval tent. And so I went in there and I lit my candle and I said, okay. I said, I want the message on whether I open or close by tomorrow. Just give it to me. I don't care what it is. Because if Spirit told me that I should move like to Africa tomorrow, I would listen. I trust Spirit that much. So I declared what I needed from Spirit. So I went home, I was all depressed, crying, I can't believe it, I can't make rent. So we get to work, and I get to my store the next morning, there's a lady waiting outside. And I'm like, oh my God, here it is, my sign. So we're opening up the store, the lady goes in, Brett's getting the till ready, and she's around my table of gemstones, right? And she's circling around and she's touching them. And she's like, oh, what are these for? And so I told her, I said, well, all of the crystals have a different energy. And I started to explain it. Well, all of a sudden she looks at me and she says, what do you mean all these crystals have energy? This is evil. And she freaking lost it on me and then left. And Brett and I are like, oh my God. And I said, well, there's my sign. I'm done. So I walked into my tarot room and I started crying and I was like, oh my God. And I hear my parents come in, and at that time I didn't even want to see them, but they came in all chirpy. The three of them are all up there. I'm crying in my tarot room. God just told me to shut down my store. And all of a sudden I hear the bell ring on the door and this lady comes in. I didn't know it was a lady until she spoke. And I wasn't going out there. I was full of tears. So I was just listening and trying to be quiet so she didn't hear me in tears. And she looks at this book that I have on the shelf. And she says to Brett, my parents are like, how are you today? And they're all helpful. And she says, Michelangelo. She goes, have you heard of Michelangelo? And she picks up this angel book. I said, yeah, of course I have heard of Michelangelo, or my parents said that. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this out. So I go out to see what's going on. And this lady's talking about Michelangelo. And as I come out, she just like looked at me. And when I looked at her, she didn't have eyes. She didn't have the white and the color. It was black, the whole ball, both eyes black, and it looked like stars. And she looked at me and she goes, you've heard of Michelangelo? And I said, yeah, I have. She goes, well, you know what happened to him? I said, what? And she goes, he died and he went to heaven. And do you know what God said to him? It was all worth it in the end. And I was like, wow. So it hit me, right? Then she looked at my parents and she told them, you need to put the armor of God on or whatever. And then she looks at me and says, have a happy day, and then giggles, and walks out. And I was like, that was weird. I'm like, get me a cigarette. So I go outside to light my smoke and I watch the lady. And I watch her walk. And she was kind of had this weird little walk. And when she sat down at the bench, almost like I thought she was waiting for her bus, she just sat there for a moment. And I'm having my cigarette watching her. And then she stands up after a few minutes and walks perfectly across the street. And I said, I guarantee you she was a walk-in. That day, after my smoke, I go out. We made our rent that day, and I never had a rental issue in my life after that. But Spirit came and saved me that day. And after that, I really believed in the archangels. So archangels will come into human form whenever we need them. Okay, few more. Spirit guides. Spirit guides we all have. They're usually known as humans that were here before. So they are more in touch with the spirit world. And they can also be in the form of a spirit who helps guide us along our spiritual journey. We can be also spirit familiars. And that's where the spirit animals will come in. So spirit guides have many forms. That's why we want to take note on the animals that we see and the signs that we get. But spirit guides are usually attached to only one person, and that is the person that they guide and watch over. We have spirit guides that have been with us since we were born, and we also have, just like the guardian angels, new spirit guides that come in every year. So if you're 44 like I am, you got a lot of spirit presence around you. And remember, every year there's a new one that comes in. And some of you who have done your training, you know, because we do the ceremony for it. But we have also all been in connection with ascended masters. And ascended masters are the type of spirit that are very similar to archangels, but they've lived on the earth at least once. So they've been here more than once. And because they've also lived on the earth and in the spiritual realm, they can give us the knowledge and guidance that we need for teachings of larger people. So if you are meant to be a teacher, if you are meant to be a leader, there's an ascended master energy around you. And so whenever I say to some of my people, you are drawn to be a leader, study the ascended masters and see which one you're channeling. Because if you're drawn to do that, you're connected to ascended master. They choose us. The spirit world knows which ones are here for specific purposes. And yeah, anybody can become psychic, but guess what? A lot of people lose their abilities as well because they don't use them. And that's one of the reasons why we're always at different levels with it. Our loved ones, I also consider our spirit guides because they're always around us. And it doesn't matter if it's a human or a pet. We have spirits. Anyone that we knew, whether we met them for 5 minutes in their past, they can connect to us. And every interaction with each person that you have, there's an attachment. There's an impression. So the loved ones are always around us. And sometimes they can get into us or through us with our dreams. But it's important for us with loved ones that we learn to summon them. And by calling them, give them questions, tell them you need a sign. Pick the sign you need. I want to see a butterfly today. Can you show me that you're here? Because when we learn how to communicate with our spirits, we can find anything out. We also have elemental spirits, and that's part of our spiritual community. And elemental spirits are the ones that live in the physical realm with us. So we have an elemental spirit from each realm in our house. We have fairies, gnomes, we have plant spirits, we have crystal spirits, tree spirits. So if you have any of those things, you have a nature spirit. Every single rock and crystal has a nature spirit. Every single blade of grass, every single animal. When it comes to spirits and ghosts, nighttime is the best time. And that is because our mind goes into a different place. So if you are seeking out learning how to communicate with spirits and ghosts, it's easier for you to do it at night. You'll feel their presence at night. And whenever you do feel a little nervous, you need to honor that. So practice at first hearing spirits, and then practice seeing them. But whenever there's a mist, that's your call to try to see. Many spirits will live in tune with our old self. Okay, which means that if there is an outdated version of who we are and we haven't cleansed our place, there will be a spirit with that personality. It's also common to find spirits living their childhood. So spirits that are passed on from a life here, they can show themselves as a child, they can show themselves as any age they want. We could all be standing in a room summoning the woman in the house, and we may all see her at different ages. So they will present themselves how they want to. And if we ever see anything we don't like, we can just say, change it now. because wild spirits will try to show themselves in a gory manner. And we can say, no, change it. And they have to. Okay. The main thing is, if there's a spirit presence or a ghost, or you're feeling something, that's an omen. And it means that spirit wants you to understand something that is happening. And that something might be a message or a healing that needs to be taken. Okay. And while there are bad ghosts and demons that we're talking about, most spirits have good intentions. So there are, a lot of spirits that are looking over us, making us happy, wanting us to be happy. We have more positive spirits than negative spirits. So one way to tell if a spirit is present is through your dreams. Is the first and easiest way for them to communicate. And that's why even if you can figure out one image that you saw, I wake up and I'll be like, okay, I saw a shelf. Just pick something. It will keep you connected to that realm. So the reason why they like to communicate through dreams is because we're peaceful, our conscious mind is asleep, and so we're brighter and light. When we're sleeping, they see us like this. We become tangible. But as soon as we start waking up, all of a sudden we're flashing, and they know they're losing us. And that's when they start throwing us all kinds of words or symbols. And it can be messy and just before we wake up, because they're seeing us wake up and going invisible. The other thing is spirits are able to manipulate objects. And that in magic is something that we use. So many people have heard of a genie. Well, we have genies. We all have a genie. And the genie comes from inside of us. Okay? So what is a genie? Well, you've all seen my little guys that I have all over, right? I've got this guy. You can see him. He's my protector. And I've shown you my other genies. And I probably have, and I got my food dog. There's one of my protectors. And I've got, here's my witch. So idols. Anything that you're drawn to, whether it's a gnome or an animal, spirit, these become spirits. That's why skulls are used in magic to represent the human. So idols become spirit. If you have a statue of the cutest little rabbit sitting on your floor, guess what? Over time, it's going to have a spirit. I remember I had this huge wall of dolls. And there was one doll that was haunted. And it always turned its head at me. And dolls get haunted. It's a fact. So we can summon energies and spirits and put them into the idols that we want it to represent. And I have one for protection. I have one for love. I have one that I carry for gambling. I rub his little head before I go into the casino. I got a Buddha. I rub his little belly before I go into the casino. And that is creating that genie. So we all actually do have a genie. And the only thing we need to do to activate it is know what we want. So there is djinn and genie. And there's different forms of them. But a djinn and a genie is a spirit friend that lives within the astral realm. There is also goddess genies. So there is one that we know as Cleopatra djinn, Norse djinn. But a genie and a djinn is a magical being. And we create its spirit out of smokeless fire. And so whenever we do magic and have a fire lit, that energy, the smokeless fire that is created, creates enormous supernatural power. And that power is actually directly connected to the universe or to the god or to the goddess, whether it's masculine or feminine. And they are believed to be created from that. They interact with us and they do our bidding. They work with the elementals. But they are mentioned in every culture and in many different manuscripts that are ancient. They are the spirit of free will. And they can be manifested to be good, bad, or neutral. We are the ones that give the spirit the power of the jinn. And one of the reasons why there is like spirit, like alcohol, we have jinn. They would use that to invoke certain spirits. So a genie and a jinn are the same thing. And it actually means, oh my God, I can't even think what it means. I believe it means authentic way. I'm sure that's what it meant. But they are mainly authentic. So they are the ones that will form what it is that we're trying to create, but the authentic version of it. Okay? It's also really important for us to treat ourselves as a positive entity. We gotta love ourselves, because if we don't, that inner genie can become miserable. So we all know we have an inner child. We also have a shadow. We also have an inner demon. And now you're learning we have a genie. And this energy wants to grant our wishes. So many of you could be powerful when you're angry. And maybe when you were younger, you were scared to be too angry because something bad would happen. That is the power of the jinn. So genie spirits are our own personal supernatural beings that we call upon in magic. And you can put them and create them into different things. So a lot of times you heard, if you have a ring you want to empower, put it on the altar. Well, that is because we're putting the power of the genie into that. Okay, so genies are not just in bottles. They are an actual spirit, and we all have one. Okay. Okay, let's go into, I'm just almost done. I could go into spirits forever. I haven't even touched what we want. Now, electricity, I got to do that before, and then how we do a spirit release, okay? So electricity is always connected to spirits, ghosts, or it lets us know somebody's energy is attached to us. So some of us, like for me, electrical things don't work long. Like I have to get a new computer almost every year. Everything breaks. Brett won't let me touch certain things because they'll break. And that is because it's an electromagnetic energy. And I'm always connected to some kind of spirit. So electricity is something that we also have to make sure we take care of and pay attention to. If a light flickers, a spirit is present. And it's really important that when you're smudging your place, every once in a while you smudge where your plugs go. In the old days, they would actually anoint each plug with ammonia so that demons couldn't come through. So electricity is always affected by spirits. And that's one of the reasons why we don't like to use electricity when we're doing magic, because it could try to just, something can come through. So ghosts and energy, or ghosts will use electricity to manifest. okay? So if your TV turns on and off, that's a ghost. That's not a spirit. That one would be a ghost. If your batteries are draining from your electronic devices, that's a ghost. Spirits will find energy more with the things like candles or natural things. Ghosts will suck onto the electricity, okay? Synchronicities is also one of the best ways for spirit to let us know they're around. And that's one thing I always look for. And if I find that I haven't received any signs or synchronicities, then I cleanse myself, because I know that that is something that I always look forward to. Synchronicities have a magic of enchantment in them from spirit. So they're always beautiful, and it's to let the spirits know that they are around and that they're understanding our theory of life. They're hearing what we want. So they will give us names. Maybe we hear the same name 3 times, and that's how you know what spirit is present. Or maybe you get the same song, right? Those things are what spirits like to work with, to give us a sign for our direction, to tell us it's time for you to wake up and be aware, because there is something happening. And the other thing is you want to do is really focus on sensing presences. There is a presence in every room. There is a presence for every person. And some people actually walk the world where they're not connecting. You could have a conversation and they didn't hear a word. So it's important for us to sense people and what's coming about, what energy is around them. Because when I'm sensing you, I'm not just sensing you, I'm sensing the spirits that are around you. They come through. And you always want to look for that warm energy or that cool energy. That lets you know the male or the female. Nature spirits like to show themselves at night. So if you're ever driving and you get out of the car and you're walking to your door and you see green flashes of light that shoot, or you walk into the house and it's dark, or you turn out the light and it's dark and you see lights flicker, those are the nature spirits. Nature spirits will come in every color. So some of the ways that you can use and communicate with spirit is through the pendulum. So I have a few different pendulums, and I want you guys to, you can use a pendulum, you can use a ring on a string, but that's one of the simplest ways to communicate with spirit. So this is the pendulum I'll use for myself. And then I have a special one. One thing that always works is graveyard dirt. So if you know someone that you love, collect some of their graveyard dirt. And I put that on my altar in October. I usually have graveyard dirt from one of my ancestors. And the other thing I love, if you have family, you can go to their gravesite. And I have, this is my chamber pendulum. See, there's a little thing in there, and I'll put some of this graveyard dirt into my pendulum if I want to communicate with my grandpa. So now I've got his. Some people have put ashes in too, but I like the graveyard dirt because I freshen it up every year. So then I will communicate with spirit with the graveyard dirt. Now, when you're communicating with spirit, you have to have the control. So you always want to tell the pendulum how you want it to communicate, because you never know who you're communicating with. So you need authority right away. And for me, what I do is I will hold my pendulum, and I usually wrap it. You can see how I wrap my pendulum around my finger just once. I like doing that because I don't want to move. And I always have my arm on the table. So I'm going to stop the pendulum, and I'm going to tell the pendulum, back and forth is yes. Show me back and forth. Back and forth is yes. Oops, I just moved talking there. Now, if I'm got it wrapped around my finger, I can go like this and everything, and it's not going to change. Back and forth is no, is yes. Now show me circle for no. Now, as soon as it changes, I got show me yes. And remember, you're going to ask 3 times. Show me no. And you want to make sure you take a look at how it's spinning. So my no is a circle and it's going counterclockwise. So there I know, because it's going counterclockwise, it's not a spirit I know. Go counterclockwise. I want a spirit that I know. Or go clockwise. Go clockwise. And then you get it to go the way you want. So now that I know I have control, am I going to get my car within the week? It's saying no. That pisses me off. So now you can ask yes and no questions with it. So one of the things to do is practice communicating with spirit, yes and no. You can also write down alphabets. So if you write your alphabet down, you can get a name, show me your first initial and see what it points to. Some of you saw the pendulum boards, right? There's, on mine, I have ones that are like a Ouija board or spirit board, and then I have chakra ones. So I have the 7 chakras, and I can ask which chakra should I focus on, and it'll tell me. So use your pendulum to work with spirit and start doing yes and no. Are you a male spirit around me? Is the strongest spirit around me male? Are you a it? Are you a female? See, it's telling me no. So ask questions. Now, when you're working with the pendulum, one of the reasons why it's super amazing is because when you're working with the pendulum, you'll get to a point where you trust it and you can understand the feeling. But then all of a sudden, you'll ask a question and you'll hear the answer. So pendulums are very magical when it comes to learning how to listen to spirit. Because you're going into a place, the graveyard dirt, I don't. I just put it in. It never molds or anything. The graveyard dirt, should it be dry? Nah. I just take it, I like it fresh. Actually, I take a note on how long it takes for it to dry, and I know how powerful the spirit is in my home. So if you put a little bit of the graveyard dirt in a bowl and then had it on your altar, and you find that it doesn't dry very quickly, then you know spirit presence is strong. And then if you find that it dries super quick, then it's like they came and they left. So when my dirt goes dry in a bowl, I know they left. But I can use the graveyard to call anytime I want. Okay. I can't believe I went this far over. Well, normally these classes are hours. So animals can also be a presence, and it can also be a ghost presence, and that depends on how they died. Okay. But your live animals will always see a presence. So if it doesn't matter if it's a bird, a fish, a cat, or a dog, they can see them. Okay. So one of the ways I like to release spirits is I will use salt water. And that's one of my favorites when it comes to doing things at other people's houses. So I'll smudge, and whenever I cleanse, I start at the front door and I go all the way around. Now, I'm sure you saw that post that I posted about the front door or the door. I want you guys to try that. I'm going to do mine and post it so that you can see. But when you put a candle at the front door and ask if a spirit is present and the candle goes out, then you know it wants to enter the house. And if it doesn't go out, then there's no spirit present. So when you go to someone's house and they say, I feel like there's a ghost, that is one of the things that you can do right away. Light a candle, put it on the floor in front of the door. Or if they say, I feel something outside of that window, it's like it's staring at me, you can do it at the window. And then if the candle knocks over, then you know it's been there for a long time, and it will knock it over. And that doesn't mean if it's negative or positive. You would know it's negative if it's outside of the house and can't enter. Okay. I'm just trying to find my notes. One of the spirits that I really hate are they sound like children, but they're not. They're very horrific. You think that you are going to experience a young child, and then they end up being like demonic. Those spirits are around. And they usually appear as a beautiful woman at first. And they try to drain, they feed off of male energy. So they actually try to drain the men around you. Let's see. Oh, my computer sucks right now. I'm trying to find my thing. Now, as far as the spirit world, there is thousands. So if someone said to you, oh, how many spirit worlds are there? Every culture has a different number. The Buddhists believe there's 10, Christians believe there's 4. So every culture has a different number of spirits. I believe that in a single moment, there is 3,000 realms. Yeah, think about how long spirits and people have roamed, right? Okay, so some ways to remove the negative energy. The first one is the glass of salt. So I like to use the glass of salt and sea salt, or the glass of water and sea salt, okay? So one way to check, use a glass of water, you put in 1/4 of a cup of salt in a glass of water. So you want it nice and full. Use plain water, you can use tap water. Ooh, and that's the other thing, is our tap water has spirit. So spirits can pass through the water. I bless my water every time I say thank you, heal me, and then I drink it, just to make sure there's nothing negative. So what you want to do is, say the house is negative energy, or people are moody, or you know it needs cleansing. Take a clear glass, cover it with 1/3 of it with sea salt. And you can use any type of sea salt. Of course, I make my own, and those that took the Earth Magic class would probably make their own sea salt for this. You can fill up the glass with plain water, and you leave it untouched in a room where you feel the energies are. You keep this in there for a minimum of 24 hours. So I always do it the day before and then examine it the day after. I like to have one full night with the glass out. Now, when you take a look at the glass the next day, you'll also feel that the room is very clear. Salt purifies, and so there won't be any negative energies in the home. But if the glass has smudges on it, then there is a strong negative energy in your home. You also want to touch the water and see how thick it is, like we did in the water class, and be sure that when you're looking at the water, if you see air bubbles in it, don't drink it. I will never drink old water. As soon as I see those little bubbles in it, I know there could be something in there, so I don't drink it. And you, by the thickness of the water, if there's no smudges on the cup, but the water is thick, you still cleansed negative energy. But the main thing you want to look for is smudges or a ring around the cup. Then do it to another room. So you could actually do that to every room in your house to purify and see which room is this room of power. The other thing that I do is I always have a bell. And if the vibration or the sound of the bell carries, I know that the room isn't too negative. If I rang it and it didn't have that ring, then I know the room is low in energy. So then that, because the room is low in energy, you need to bring more vibration into the home. So when you go to a place that needs clearing, or you want to know if your room is energized, listen to the ring. Okay? If it isn't, and you need positive energy, you can use plants, you can use crystals, anything natural. I bring in one of each element into the room. Or the other way to cleanse a room is by activating 4 different crystals. And if you activate your crystals and put them in the 4 corners of your room, you will know that the crystals are doing something because they change color. And they will become cloudy. Or you may look at your crystal and find little white ball or little balls of fluid on them, like condensation. If there is condensation on your crystal, that means that it has cleansed your home of negative or evil spirits. So fluid will form droplets if there is evil or negativity around. That also happens with salt lamps. A lot of people will have salt lamps and they'll say it's melting. I couldn't keep one here because of the salt water and all the water. But say you're away from the ocean, you're in your house, and all of a sudden your salt lamp is feeling wet. It's been cleaning very negative energy, and it's been turning the negative energy into the positive energy. Once you've done the room, expand it into 2 rooms and move 2 of the crystals into the next room until you get to the point where the 4 crystals are outside the 4 homes of your property or inside. I keep my crystals on my inside. And you don't need them up and down, just wherever you can get to the 4 corners. The other thing is making sure there is no garbage or clutter. If there is any type of garbage or garbage dump, or if there is any type of clutter, spirits are drawn to that. Think about having things, stones, more than 1 stone on 1 group. That's a lot of energy. Well, the same happens with clothes. Okay? So it's really important that if you feel like there's things that are negative, to get rid of any clutter that's around. You also should always keep your windows clean, because spirits come in through the windows. And so if you keep your windowsill clean and the area by your door clean, negative spirits won't be attracted to it. Now, I have my windows full of crystals and shells. That's fine. But if your windows are getting cloudy and you haven't washed them for a little while, it will draw the attention of a spirit. So you want to keep your home and your surroundings clean and your doors open.
Oh, that could be a thing.
Okay. I don't know who that is, but that's okay. Last one is doing a circle of sea salt. So once a year, a minimum, do a salt purifying circle around your home, or at least scatter sea salt through your home and sweep it up clockwise. Now, when salt is around negative energy and it's purifying, it clumps and it will become hard. So make sure that you do a sea salt sweep. When we use the sweet salt or the salt water is a holy water, and that's why it works. And it actually creates a portal of power where everything in the atmosphere that's negative gets called into it and cleansed. And so when we use salt, salt is something that is neutralizing. So it will neutralize any energy that is not of natural elements. And it can keep your home free of negative spirits. The best time to do the salt circle is on a full moon. And if you are still experiencing any type of chaos or negativity, do it again on the full moon and make it a ritual until you get your results. Okay? Of course, cleansing with sage or incense or anything that smells good and makes you feel good will purify a house and a room. It has cleansing effects. What's important is that you move into a circle. And when you're cleansing a home, you're saying this home is cleansed. There's no negative energies. This house is healed. And when native medicine doctors or shamans use sage to clear off energies or evil spirits, they're mentally saying and putting out what they want. Okay? Shadow people, unfortunately, shadow people you can't really cleanse. You can only guard your house from allowing them to enter. What happens with shadow people is during the month of October, they become active. And it's because the Grim Reaper, everyone's heard of the Grim Reaper, and the spirits of death are roaming this world, and they're collecting all of the spirits that are meant to go through their transformation. So this is a time where spirits will become animal guides, spirit guides. Some spirits that are negative will be sent to the underworld. Some spirits that need to be released are getting released right now. So just like we go into a home that's haunted, well, right now the whole world is haunted, and all of the spirits and realms are here doing their duty for this cycle of change and transformation to get cleaned up on this world. So this is the month where a lot of chaos, a lot of deaths happen, but it's the most cleansing month. And when we get into November, you'll find that the energy of the spirit is a lot different. Okay? So some of the things that you want to be aware of are energies that make you feel like you're abandoned or lonely. Certain negative energies are spirits. And that's one of the reasons why I keep myself so high. Because I know that if I don't work at keeping my level high, I'll go into a place where I don't want to be dealing with those energies. I don't want to attract certain spirits. And because most of my life is about doing readings for people, it is so important for me to be in a place where I'm neutral and I'm in a positive state. And that is because I can now connect with other people. The other thing is there is an actual spirit that tries to get people addicted to things. People addicted to cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol. So those are spirits, and they want us. And anytime we're trying to stop something and it's difficult, it's not just our mind that needs to go through a change. It takes 21 days. There's spirits that feed off of that addiction. Okay? Spirits will feed off of sugar. And I was one that, like, I always needed sugar, but I didn't realize that it was because I was feeding the energies around me as well. And I don't know if you saw that movie about Archangel Michael, how he liked sugar with John Travolta. Oh my God, you have to see it. It's amazing if you haven't. His thing was sugar. Like, he would just always be eating something. And that's so true. Like, angel energies, spirits, they like sweet stuff. That's why we offer cookies and honey, right, to the spirit world. Let me see if there is anything else I missed here. Of course, there's the spirits of the gods and goddesses, and we went into that. Those that are negative, the ones that maybe have hate, anger, or revenge in their hearts, they're actually connected already to the spirit of death. And that's one of the reasons why people who have natural, supernatural abilities would be scared of thinking negative about someone because they know something bad will happen. Well, those people are connected to the underworld. And when we live in a place of hate or revenge or anger in our heart, we're connected to the realm of the dead. And so the spirit of death comes around us, okay? And anytime we ever hear, and all of us have been in a place where we may have thought, I don't want to be here anymore, okay? As soon as we say that, we are connected to the realm of death. Then near-death experiences can come. All of a sudden we start getting thoughts of suicide, or even when we watch horror movies, we will create and attach to a realm that is negative. So we have positive and negative realms, just like with every attitude there is, okay? So with that, let me find something. Yeah, it's true. Negativity and hate will kill you. Never heard it like that before, though. No, it is. It is a spirit attached to it. And you know, that's why it's so difficult to fight those things, because we're living in a mundane world. Those mundane spirits rule this world too, just like we do. So just know that we have more spirits available to us. If we go into a place of negativity, call for help. I'm always like, fuck this, help me. And then that's it. I claimed it. So learn how to claim what you need. Don't take it on by yourself. I'm a firm believer that if things get difficult, it's time to call the spirit. Because I believe in a positive path, and I believe in an easy path. I believe life is supposed to be easier than what we get dished out. So keep yourself heightened so that you can work and access the different realms of spirit. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about what I've said? Or questions about spirits? Can you call that positivity for others? Yes. So just like, and this is something that water element is to call spirit, right? So we can use the elements to call the spirits we need help with. You want financial help? Call for the spirit of the earth, right? If you want to contact someone that's living in BC, face west and say their name 3 times and then tell them to call you. So do that for homework. Think about someone that you want them to call. Call me. Say their name 3 times and see how they contact you. But you need to speak in the direction that they're in. So if I wanted to call someone in Nova Scotia, I can be like, Stephanie, call me. And I will wait and listen for 3 days. So we can speak to spirits and the spirit of people. And many times when I'm dealing with crap, say my son did something that's like so wrong, I'll talk to a spirit if he won't listen to me. I light the candle and I'll talk to my son. I'll talk to his spirit, because his spirit is always positive and always wanting to move forward. So if someone's moody, we can call their spirit to change that. Okay? And it works well for hubbies. I want him to buy me this. All right? You want to fix my car. You want to do it. You can talk to the spirit of people. Okay? But yes, always positive. And if you see something negative, you can also banish that. okay? A lot of people are fighting family with addictions. Well, those people can do magic on that addiction. They can banish the thoughts of addiction, the feeling of it, whatever, okay? So I didn't find my work of more of the spirits. I tried to cover as many as I could remember. But if I do find some that I didn't discuss, I'll make sure you get that, okay? So I want to pull an attraction card. I love these cards. I don't use them in my readings either. They're so old-fashioned. I'm going to pull one of these cards for us about the spirits around us. What are they doing? So anything negative is mundane. And when I deal with negativity or negative spirits, I know I'm dealing with a human spirit or something that was attached to a human spirit. So it doesn't bother me, okay? And of course, anything positive is divine. So next time I have a spirit release or something, I'll let you know and you can partake in it. And I got 2 cards here, so I'm going to read them. Appreciation dissolves all blocks to the presence of my super attractor power. So appreciation removes blocks, right? I mean, that's the power of this month. This month is about us being thankful for everything that we received, how we grew our connections. And the more thankful we are, the more powerful we become, the better our year becomes. So the next one is directing my focus onto what's thriving creates more of what I want. That's perfect. And that's correct. Focus on what you want to thrive. That's where your power is with the spirits. Okay. So I asked you to get a piece of paper and a pen. We'll open the circle right after this. And this I want you to post on our page after I post this video once it's finished. So I'll post this video. Well, no, I'm not going to post it because not everyone was there. I'm going to take a picture of this because only the people who paid for this class gets it. So I'm going to post this. I'll do a group chat like the old days. Then it became out of control. Okay. There we go. So I'll make sure you all get a copy of this. You'll also get your Spirit Witch certificate. Okay. And let's see. Are you ready? Get your paper. So I want you to close your eyes for a minute and focus. Breathe 3 times. Feet flat on the ground. And I want you to pay attention to the atmosphere around you. Do you find that it's warm or hot or cold? Write down whether you're warm or cold. Or, yeah, warm or cold. I gotta write this down. I don't even have a paper. There we go. Okay. Then I want you to ask this question mentally. Is there someone around me now? And I want you to write yes or no. And then I want you to write another one. You can pick male or female. Don't think about it. And then I want you to think about one animal. And then I want you to think of one emotion. And then I want you to think of one psychic ability. So there is sight, there is the feeling, there is the hearing, right? So okay, so clairaudience is the hearing, clairvoyance is the sight. We have our empathic ability, I can't even think. I only thought of 3 out of 5. It's so bad. Okay, our feelings. Think about the elements. Our feelings, our sight, our hearing. Or our knowingness. So do you feel, hear, see, or know? Choose one of those. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want you to put one word that you want to represent the future. What is it that you want? Okay. So why don't we post these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words on the link that I put the class on. And we'll see what happens. I want to see how many people got the same thing. Okay. And with that, we'll open. Do we get your elementary witch certificates if you've done all 5? Yes, you do. So if you did all 5 elements, you get your recognized as an elemental witch certificate. Yeah, some of you have been waiting, hey? I'm sorry. Someone needs to do water. Okay, I'm gonna put a note here and I'll put water on next month. Awesome. Okay, so let us do, and hopefully we can do it in person. Now let's open our circle. Now I want you to take note when we open the circle, if you can feel the change in the atmosphere, okay? Because when we open the circle, you want the spirit to go. So you want to feel like the air becomes more clear or chilly, okay? The circle is open but never unbroken. Merry we meet, merry we part, until we meet again with love in our hearts. So mote it be. Stomp it away. Gotta stomp it away from those spirits, right? Awesome. And your candle just went out on its own. Ah, that spirit. That's awesome. Well, it's good. It's finished. Have a great night, everyone. I hope I see you. Some of you I'm going to see for brooms, but hopefully you'll make it on the 31st for that ceremony. Blue moon. Awesome. Good night, everyone. Sorry for keeping you for too long. Good night.